Welcome back to Abel's Treasures. Today, you get to hear a conversation that I had with Anthony. Anthony Makes Change. You can find him on Instagram. Now, normally I wait until the end to give you my three takeaways, but I want to give you number one that really stuck out to me and why I asked Anthony to come on to my channel. The first thing that we talked about was volunteering or giving back, and it really stuck out to me on how he faces out. And as we were having that conversation, one of the things he says is, it's good to be able to step into someone else's life for a moment and love them up. And that connected with me in a way of being able to show empathy for someone's situation and be able to give them a hand up, not a handout. Thank you, Anthony, for coming onto my channel. Everybody else, hit the like button, comment below, share with your friends. Let's get into it. Anthony, thank you for coming onto my channel, Abel's Treasures. I really do appreciate it. Before we get started, I want to let you know one of the reasons why I invited you on my channel is I do follow you on Instagram. And what I see on Instagram, the way I describe it, is facing out. What I see is you're encouraging, you're looking at changing the world, you're volunteering, and that's definitely something that, for lack of a better way of saying it, I look up to, and I really like to see that content. So thank you for putting that out into the world. So saying that, I would like you, if you could, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. First, thanks for having me on. Definitely appreciate you reaching out, inviting me on. I've been now reselling a couple of years, and I've just really enjoyed it. I mean, it's been made a huge difference really in my life and the way that we do things with my family and being able to have time to do life versus always working all the time.
Yeah. And before we hit record, you were telling me you're in retail, and you don't have to tell me the story, but my first question, because of the way we started this, we had some technical difficulties. Excuse me. How do you balance out retail, reselling, family life? How do you get all that balance and not stress out?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, sometimes you kind of feel that inner stress, inner turmoil, but I mean, I generally stay pretty calm anyway. Just kind of stay focused on the task at hand and where you're going, what your goals are, and kind of move forward towards that. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be things that come up, and you've just got to manage through that process. I mean, I guess a little bit of backstory on where and how I got into reselling. I was working at Walmart, and I was there for 16 years. And it was becoming too much, like just constantly working, constantly focusing on work, getting phone calls from work. I mean, I was clocking in probably 70, 75 plus hours a week. And I just realized like I had to do something different. Something had to change.
Yeah. So when you made that, how did you come up to that change? Was the change changing from Walmart or going straight into reselling?
So, I mean, I kind of just started reselling on the side. Originally, I had started by watching Retro Rick and his $10 game collection. And, we're a single income family. I've got a wife, 3 kids, 1 on the way. And it's always been...
First of all, congratulations. That's awesome.
So, single income family. And, we got to watch every dollar coming in, every dollar going out. And there wasn't money extra to be buying video games, buying toys, going on, outings and trips and different stuff like that. So, I was watching him and I was like, you know what? I like video games. I'd like to start collecting video games again. I've got all of my stuff from when I was growing up, but maybe I can try to do some of this reselling and have enough money on the side to be able to buy some games again, to be able to kind of expand my collection. And so I started there really just trying to see what I could flip, hitting thrift stores here and there, trying to just get a little bit of something built up. And I started to kind of see had a couple of really good flips. And I was like, man, this could really be more than just buying some video games.
Seeing the potential.
Right. There's a lot of potential. I mean, sky's kind of the limit. It's what you put into it. But I mean, from there, I found a couple of other people that were selling. I mean, everybody kind of talks about Harry Tornado. I was watching him at that point, kind of seeing what he was doing. And really, I mean, I had been working for a long time, and that just kind of become the expectation at work that we're going to work all these hours. And, I'd get home and I'd be exhausted. I wouldn't have time to give my kids, give my wife. And I I needed that. And, for a while with Walmart being the only income, it was like, I don't want to risk this. I don't want something to change. Am I going to be able to find something that will pay me the same, pay me more? How am I going to try to get somewhere else that I can work less hours, still make the money that I need? And when I was reselling, I kind of got that confidence, like, wait a minute, it's not all, all my eggs aren't in one basket anymore. Yeah. It'll be okay if I have to go to another company, find another job, and, make up some difference reselling. I did end up leaving Walmart. I work at Kroger now, still retail, been in retail now, I guess 17 years. Okay. And with the reselling on the side with Kroger came in pretty close to matching my pay, but now I'm working like 20 to 25 hours less a week. So all of that is given back to my family. I'm giving back to some of the volunteer work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, it was huge. People talk about reselling being able to change your life. And I was able to use that as a stepping stone to, that was a big change after, 16 years at one company to just flip. That was the only job I'd ever had. I came up through Walmart, started as an hourly and got kind of promoted on up to management.
That your story makes me feel good. That you're creating flexibility in your life to be able to do what you want to do. You have a full-time job. You have your reselling on the side or as well, because it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just a side hustle. It's a lot of work to do it. I really enjoyed that story because you're putting in the work, but you're prioritizing, your family at the same time.
Right. Yeah. We definitely put priority on being able to go to church and give time to others. And for a long time, I'd be lucky if I could get away on my lunch on a Sunday morning to go to our church on Sunday. And so, that had to be another shift, another change. And my manager now at the store I'm at, he pretty much, I'm either off on Sundays or I close on Sundays so that I can go to church in the mornings.
That's awesome. So they're even flexible with you. So you're in a much better situation.
Oh yeah.
One door closes, the next one opens. Normally,
the world of difference from where I was.
So I really want to, before I hit record, I was talking about, I want to know the man, right? It's not just always about reselling. And I started talking about how you have changed the world. You're encouraging. That's how you stood out to me. Can we talk a little bit about your volunteering and why you do that?
Yeah. So a couple of, I guess kind of what you see is that my name on Instagram is Anthony Makes Change. And it was kind of twofold. I'm making change, making money reselling, but I also kind of want to showcase, okay, I've had this big change in my life where I have, 20 plus hours that I'm not devoting to a job that I can now invest somewhere else. Yeah. So, I want to be able to use that time, that energy to also kind of help, change my life, maybe help some other people change their lives. So, be there. I've got no problem. Anybody messages me on Instagram, I'll shoot them a message. I'll answer questions. As far as kind of the volunteer work that I do, we do a couple of different things. Another, the big ones that kind of you see me posting about is, we work with the food bank doing the food distributions. They do once a month with our church. We go to one of the distributions and help hand out food. We get to, step into somebody else's life for a minute and just, love on them, share some experience with them, kind of lift them up, even if it's just in that small moment, taking care of a basic need. Yeah. There's the other volunteer work that I do is we volunteer with Scouts. I'm in Trail Life with my son, and my wife does American Heritage Girls with our daughters. Okay. And those are both scouting organizations. It's kind of, I'll focus more on Trail Life. My wife kind of handles the HD side of things, but as far as Trail Life, it is a character development program for boys through scouting. So a lot of my kind of volunteer extra time is with them, and once a month we take them on outings, and really they're supposed to be the ones, and we're there to kind of help lead and guide them, but they're supposed to be the ones that are kind of running their show, running the program, where they're planning out their events, they're cooking all their meals, they're making the decisions, and we're there to kind of lead them through that.
I like that. So you've kind of answered it, but I'm going to see if you answer it differently. Why are you doing that? Why are you volunteering?
It's just, I guess a little bit is just, something in me. I want to be able to give to others, to help them out, to, part of the volunteering with the Scouts is I enjoy the outdoor stuff, but at the same time, like I said, we get to kind of give back and help other people grow, other people to get out there and do this kind of stuff and realize that there's more, to what they're doing than just kind of the day-to-day, the mundane.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I asked the question as I'm listening to you, and something I wrote down is you, it sounds like you and others, not just you, I know that, but you are creating leaders of the future. You're guiding them, but they get to make their decisions and their mistakes as they're, like you said, cooking, camping, in a supervised environment to create leaders to when they go to school or when they are on a team, they're going to use those same skills that you're working with.
Yeah. Kind of what it breaks down to.
Yeah. So to me, it's all about leadership, and it's amazing that you are able to help these kids to be able to do that. So that's why I keep bringing it up. Why is because it's not just going out to fishing camp, right? It's about that leadership.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So yeah. And that's one of again, I mentioned it before, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to invite you on, because I think that's important to get out there, that we are resellers, but people that face out and help other people selfishly, it can come back to you. But I'm assuming that you're not doing it just to selfishly so you can say I'm volunteering. You're doing it to give to others.
No, not at all. I honestly could care less what people think about me. I learned that a long time ago. So the more I can kind of give others and build other people up, the better it is.
So thank you. Thank you for doing what you do, as well as your wife. We'll change the subject a little bit. I want to go back into reselling. We talked about goals at the beginning. We're talking about stress, things like that. One of the things you said was goals. What type of goals are you setting up for yourself for your reselling business?
I didn't have any dollar amount goals or anything like that. Like I said, when I got started, it was just kind of let me see what I can do with this thing. Let me see if I could be able to kind of buy some games or be able to buy some Lego sets. But it's kind of, like I said, it's flipped everything for us. I'm able to, pay for my kids to do these clubs and to cover those costs and make sure at the end of the month, we have more money than month. And sometimes it's tight for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as kind of goals, last year I had a pretty strong year, I would consider, for my first year. My goal was kind of just to beat that. I've got kind of short-term goals of making sure I'm listing regular. I'm not necessarily using this to be able to hit any certain metric.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to talk about metric. When I mentioned goals, is what you exactly said is, listing consistently, being able to get those little tasks that need to be done as a reseller done consistently. So I was wondering, do you have those type of goals set up? I want to list at least 2 a day, 5 a day.
Late, I did terrible for the past month and a half. Things just got super busy at work, busy at home, and kind of, that's kind of one of the benefits of reselling is if you need time to focus your energy somewhere else, you can. You're going to kind of, trade that off where, okay, I'm not listing as much, I'm not going to get the sales, but I have that time now to spend with whatever might be going on.
How do you feel when you're not listing as much? Do you give yourself grace, or do you stress about it? I need to get back to it.
I try to give myself grace. I would hope that most of us give ourselves grace. I wish I was a little harder on myself, I guess, on some of it. But there's days I get home and I'm just I want to go list. And I'm I don't feel like it. And I need to do better about making myself go do it anyway. I've really been trying hard this last month to make myself get out and do my listings. Sourcing is great. I could source all day long, but if I'm not listing, I can't keep going and sourcing because it's not, not backfilling that account.
Right.
As far as goals right now, I guess I'll take it back there for just a sec. I had kind of, once I started seeing what reselling could be, I used to have a pickup truck. I had sold it at one time when we moved, and I was like, man, I really want a truck again. So I had started kind of saving to get a truck. Finally just made that happen last month. And I kind of just, I don't know, vehicles are super expensive right now. Any kind of used vehicle. It's an 03 Ranger, and it was still, I mean, every time I'm looking at them, like prices are going up and up and up, and I've ended up getting a good deal on this one, but kind of used reselling. Like eBay is my main reselling platform, but larger items I'll put on Facebook Marketplace. Kind of in season items I'll do on Facebook Marketplace. And anytime I would sell something on Marketplace, I would just kind of put the money away and forget about it. Put it away and forget about it. And I'm talking like even before eBay, just kind of taking that little bit of money, putting it away. And so I saved and saved and saved for a long time to finally give myself a truck again. So that was kind of my big, like, short term, I guess, kind of money goal that I've been working towards. But I do still have student loans I'm trying to work through. We've had some kind of financial things come up. Two of my kids are now in braces. So we've had a couple of things come up that went on a credit card versus being able to just pay it straight away. So kind of my goal is to get that credit card debt gone again as soon as possible. Because there was a time I had it all paid off, and it's been kind of one thing after another here lately.
And that's one of the things, that's a trend I hear within the reselling community is trying to go debt free. But if you're not debt free, I mean, the reselling income is definitely that focus of getting everything paid off.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that about our community of trying to go debt free or being very frugal. I mean, that's, if that's be frugal, that's how we are able to flip, right?
Right. I mean, that's definitely one thing I've seen with the reseller community. Like I said, I've been doing it, 2 years. And really, I mean, first of all, the reseller community has just been like open arms, man. They are just so welcoming. Let me help you. Let me answer questions. Even, some of these guys that have hundreds of thousands of followers, like they'll still take the time to answer a question. They're there to help you out. They're putting out great content to help other resellers do the same thing. And it's just kind of a different mindset with reselling. It's like, you don't want to depend on a company or depend on the government or depend on somebody else. Like, you're out there trying to make it happen for yourself.
When I started, that's kind of was a little bit of my thought process. But when you get deep into the reseller community and you continue to hear exactly what you said, I was like, oh, I can do this. I can be my own boss. Shouldn't say you. I started visualizing, this is a possibility. Yeah, I give big props to the reselling community for just the overall positive. Of course, you can find your pockets if you chose to look of negative, but overall positive in the reselling community.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
What do you like sourcing? Garage sales, thrift stores?
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of luck with garage sales lately. Last summer I did okay at like some community sales and church sales, but every time I see ads for good sales, like it's an hour away. Like I'm not going an hour away. Yeah. And then around here, like everybody waits until the morning of to start advertising their advertising their sales, and I'm like, I gotta go to work later today. If I want to source yard sales, I need to plan the night before, plan the day before. Yeah. And so that hasn't been a great avenue this year. I do most of my sourcing at the thrift stores, and then I do I feel like I've been getting pretty lucky on Facebook Marketplace here lately as well. And I mean, I'll sell anything I can find, really. I enjoy doing toys and games and kind of household type stuff. I feel like working at Walmart as long as I did, I've got a pretty good eye on what has value pretty quick when I can kind of scan and see what's there. But again, toys and games are big ones. I love doing Lego, selling the minifigures. Some of those minifigures are just unbelievable what they sell for. I think the most I sold one for was $140 for one figure.
Wow.
But kind of that's my main sources is, like I said, Goodwill, thrift stores, whatever I can find, get in there, and then just stocking Facebook Marketplace constantly.
Yeah. See, I don't really source on Facebook Marketplace. Maybe I should look a little bit more. Normally it's looking for garage sales, and I'm up at 7:15 or 7:30. And
so do you have a good source of finding yard sales in your area?
They do what you said, but I do have the flexibility of finding them that morning, just driving around a lot of times.
Gotcha.
The other benefit for me is my uncle does the same thing. So I'll ask him, are you out in the hunt today? And he'll send me, hey, here's my list that I was able to find on Facebook. And I'll send him my list because for some reason, how the algorithm, I'm not finding what he's
that algorithm is rough on it.
Exactly. That's when it
That's not helpful at all.
So yeah, it's a little bit of teamwork where my uncle will tell me and I'll let him know. And then if I know he's out in the hunt and I'm across town and I'm like, hey, I'm on this street, it's not worth coming here. He's like, and he does that vice versa. So we're not driving.
That's nice that you can work together like that.
Yeah, but we're still competitive. So if we're at the same place and, he'll give me that little grin if he found something that he knows I want. We're competitive, but we know there's enough out there for each other.
Right. And then, I've tried doing the Goodwill bins. We do have one nearby, but it just seems like I can never find anything good in there, really. Some of the people in there are pretty aggressive, and I'm looking, I don't really like doing clothes anyway. If there's one thing I could never source would be shoes and clothes. But, there's definitely value there. I always try to watch out for shoes. Sometimes that's all I'll find is shoes. So yeah. I have a death pile full of shoes. I bring them home and I hardly ever list them. But I look at some of these guys that do the bins. You watch Chris Flip the World doing live from the bins, and I'm like, they all would never find something like that in my bins.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I'm like, how are they doing that? Now, my bins are only open once a week on Tuesday, and they've changed from hard goods to clothing only for the summer because I guess they're low on inventory is what they said. So I've stopped going.
Yeah, I don't go, but whenever I'm on that end of town, I'll stop in the bins. It's probably a 20 to 25 minute ride for me, so I'm not going out of my way to go to the bins.
Yeah.
I keep hoping to go in there and figure it out, but it's just not been happening yet for me.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, I have found a couple of cool things. I found I think it was a Busch Light mirror I was able to sell for $110 or something like that. It was under stuff. I'm surprised it wasn't broken or anything like that. So, then I probably paid $2. I don't even remember. You know how they go by weight.
Right.
So I get lucky sometimes, but is it really worth the time if I'm only finding something maybe once a month and go 4 times a month?
Right. So you said it's on Tuesdays or Thursdays?
Just Tuesdays. And they open up at 10:30 and then they change the bins at 1:30 and that's it. So.
Gotcha. You have better options on a Tuesday then?
No.
If there's something else you could be doing that's more worth your time on a Tuesday?
I think my time is better spent listing. Now in the wintertime, that might change. Because Thursday through Saturday, there's garage sales at least.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning. Hopefully it's been raining every morning, so we'll see what that brings. How long have you been volunteering?
Geez, my son is getting ready to turn 15, and we have been volunteering with Scouts since he was in first grade. So 8 or 9 years, I guess.
So here's a question then on that. When your son is out of that, do you see yourself continuing?
I don't know. We've got 3 more years. I've really enjoyed the program, whether he was in it or not. Yeah. I feel like, sometimes I hate to say that it's a burden. Sometimes it feels like a burden because it's man, my whole weekend was just taken up doing this camping trip. And we are really trying to get more involved and do more volunteering in our church. Yeah. So I kind of feel like when he is done, he graduates, we will try to focus more on volunteering with our church versus the Scouts. But you never know. I've been doing it a long time. I feel like I've got a pretty good knowledge. I may stay on as an advisor for the newer dads coming in and kind of walk them through that process. But always want to be kind of focusing my time outward. Yeah. Whether that be other people, other youth, my own kids, I want to make sure that I'm focused out.
Yeah. And the reason anytime I ask a question, it's because either from my experience or something that I want to know. And from my experience, when my son was younger, he's 23 now. But when he was in baseball, soccer, football, all of those things, it was easy for me to volunteer. And I was like, I'm enjoying this so much, maybe I'll continue to help. But that became my drive wasn't there any longer as soon as he wasn't there. So that's kind of why I asked that question.
Right. Now I could definitely see a shift in focus when don't have a kid in the program anymore.
Right. Yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult and including you were just talking about, your priorities start changing. You want to work with your church, and then you have other kids as well that they're probably in programs or things as they grow up. So
yeah,
your priorities are going to change.
I told you we got one on the way. So we're gonna have a 15-year spread. We're kind of gonna be doing the whole cycle over again.
Yeah, you're starting over.
That's so awesome. We already know it's a girl. So we have, I have one son, and then it'll be 3 girls. So I don't have another boy to kind of walk back through the program again.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, they take dad volunteers with the American Heritage girls.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, there is plenty of opportunities out there for volunteering, whether it be through Scouts or church or any other resource you can find. There's always organizations that need help, need volunteers to get the work done.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. It's just because there aren't a lot of volunteers out there. I mean, everybody should at least find one thing to try to volunteer for a little bit. And that's something I try to do. And again, that's why I feel like connected with you. I enjoyed your Instagram post.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So back to reselling. What's the coolest thing that you sold?
Oh man. The coolest thing, I guess the first thing that comes to mind when you said it was when I first started reselling, I found 2 skateboards from like the 1940s or 50s. They were like literally like a 1.5, 2 foot board, kind of like a piece of wood, basically. Maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches across. And they had like old metal roller skate wheels for the wheels on these things. And I just thought like they were so cool. They were $5 each. And I looked them up. And I mean, this was when I first started reselling, like maybe a month or 2 into it. And I saw the comps and it was like $100 each on these things. And I'm like, there's no way I just found, $200 worth of stuff for $10. Like, I'm still like so new. It's just kind of blowing my mind. And I'm like, is this real life? And so that was definitely one of the coolest, finding kind of the old skateboards and kind of doing the comps and checking the research. One of them had a company name like sticker on it. So I was able to look them up and kind of see kind of their story. So it's kind of cool to kind of see the stories behind a lot of these pieces anyway. Yeah. But then when they finally sold, it was like I went to the post office. It was like my first big sale. I'd been selling a couple of things here and there for 10, 15, $20. And then I've got these 2 skateboards sold together to, I don't even know, some guy in New England whose son is some like X Games snowboarder. So I got to hear his story a little bit. But I just felt like such a boss walking into the post office because I had my, big sale and I had like 3 or 4 others. And it was like my first trip that I had more than just one box getting dropped off. So that was definitely probably one of my coolest kind of item stories that I've found.
I love that story for many reasons. One, when you say I feel like a boss, I mean, I just imagine you, those IKEA bags, you bringing it in or whatever. Oh, yeah. Maybe you didn't have it then, but that's what was in my head.
Right. Just loaded, arm load. I had them, can you hold the door for me? I've got a lot of stuff here that I still know. It wasn't that.
But hey, I'm going to keep that story in my head. I'm okay telling a lie to myself. Not only that's one of the reasons why I enjoy reselling is because there's stories behind the vintage items. That's why I enjoy selling vintage items. But not only that, the person that bought it, that's a whole story in itself. You said X Games?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the name now. It's been a couple of years, but he's some famous, he's won some medals and stuff. I could probably go in the messenger system and find him again, but he was, he's a competition snowboarder who's won some awards for doing it.
See, and those experiences are just pretty cool. I mean, at the moment, for me, if I were in your position, I would have been excited. And if anybody listened, I would probably tell them everything. And that's why I like the reselling community, is because I understand that excitement. If I told a friend that doesn't resell, I don't think they would care.
They're like, yeah, that's cool. And they go on about their day.
Yeah, and I'm over here pumping you up. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like the ones where I see on Instagram where like a movie studio purchases an item, a vintage item that's going to be a movie or something like that.
I think I've done one of those, and I never even heard what it was going to with some Christmas lights, like a string of old Christmas lights.
Really?
And I could just see that it was some movie studio.
Yeah, those are the cool ones. I haven't personally had one yet, but that's one of those things on my bucket list I wanted to happen.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff. They'll be looking for it.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting towards the end, so I do want to ask you, and this is a question I ask everybody at the end. My channel is called Abel's Treasures, and I want to ask you what your greatest treasure is, and it doesn't have to do with reselling.
Off the top of my head, it's going to be my family. for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's a great answer. And that's the majority of the answers. And that's what I appreciate. Family is the most important.
I mean, reselling is cool. The stuff we're finding is cool. The collections we're making is cool. But like, if we don't have, our families, then what do we really have? We don't have the relationships. We don't have friends. We're just sitting on a heap of stuff.
Yes, Anthony. As always, family is definitely the greatest treasure. Thank you for coming onto my channel. I gave you my first takeaway at the beginning in the intro, and I owe you two more, so let's get right into it. What I pulled away, now we didn't actually talk about it, but something I pulled away from this chat as a great reminder is don't compare yourself to others. We were having a conversation about how he seems to be laid back and really not stressed about things, keep a focus on your goals. And I started thinking about balance. Someone who myself, I feel like I'm laid back and don't stress about things. And I see other people, and my perception is they are very high strung, but highly motivated getting things done. And everybody's life is a little bit different. So don't compare yourself. Those people that are getting things done wish they could be a little bit more laid back. As Anthony mentioned, as I agree, someone who's laid back wishes we could be a little more structured in getting things done. So there is always a balance there. So keep your circle of friends diversified, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's one of my takeaways is don't compare yourself to somebody else as they may want to be you. Number three, my final takeaway is save, save, save. We've talked about it, saving for taxes, saving for another a rainy day. He talked about his truck and what reselling can do. And when he was making sales, he was able to save, save, save. Just something that I took away. Again, a lot of these takeaways are common sense, but they're good reminders on what we can pull away and bring into our lives. Again, Anthony, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming onto my channel. And remember, everyone, the greatest treasures is connecting with people. Take care of each other.